Okay. Um, Vikings preview video for week. God, I don't even know what week are we on. What are we, week 10 now? Uh, it's getting frustrating doing these because it seems like now every time it's just recapping a really bad week in Viking land, and this has been another really bad week. Um, and as is often the case with this franchise, not always with on the field matters. Um, but we had and there's nothing really to say about the Dalvin Cook thing because we don't know what it is. Like we have a we have one side saying one thing, the other side saying another thing, and supposedly there's a couple of witnesses to what may or may not have happened. We haven't heard anything about that, or from them. So, you know, Dalvin's going to play, and I think he should play because at this point there's no reason to not have him play. Um, but obviously, you had you had stuff on both sides of people just going full on jumping to conclusions. Whether it's saying derogatory things about Dalvin or saying derogatory things about this woman, or I even saw someone blaming Rick Spielman because, oh my God, how could we draft this? Like, what are you talking about? I get really there's a lot of things about like the Spielman haters that really annoy me, but one of the biggest is ripping him for what happens off the field with players, like the Gladney thing. How are you gonna rip Rick Spielman for Jeff Gladney? How are you gonna fucking know that's gonna happen? Give me a break. Um, so we may who knows if we'll ever hear any more on that, and frankly, we maybe don't need to hear any more on it because it's not, that's essentially a private thing. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, I don't foresee Dalvin not playing at any point because of this. Um, and then the other, the real bad part of the week is of course we saw this coming, or we should have when it was announced and shortly before the season. I think that the team with the lowest percentage of vaccinations in the league was the Vikings, and we knew there was going to be something at some point. Um, and we've got a couple more guys out with COVID. Kenny Willekes is out for the week, and then Dakota Dozier had to be hospitalized, and I believe he must still be in the hospital. He was having some bad stuff going on there, and he's vaccinated, which of course then led to a whole bunch of the anti-vaxxers to be like, "Oh, see, you get sick." Yes, we all know that you can still get sick, even if you're vaccinated. That's not the fucking point. The odds are much, much lower. But you know, there's no point in even trying with these people anymore. But and of course I got really annoyed. There was of course the first reaction from so many of these so-called fans is to just be like, oh well that's one way to get Dozier off the team, like, or oh, what was us, poor me, the fan, that this is happening to. Like, the guy's in the fucking hospital. Can you stuff your fuck, whether it's you hate the team, you hate Dakota can you stuff that fucking shit away while the guy is literally in the hospital? And at that point, I don't think we even knew if he was okay. I think he is okay. You know, I haven't. There really hasn't been a lot of updates, but you know, as far as I know, he's still in the hospital. But it's like, just I've been asking this of Vikings fans for years. It seems like, but can we be better than this? Can we just stop? Like, who cares if you don't like a player or you're mad that he's on the team? He's in the fucking hospital and you're like gloating. God, these fucking people. And I know this is just like, a handful of trolls, but I mean, the trolls have kind of taken over this fan base, it seems like. So, but a couple other players are on the court, like Willie and of course Willie looked pretty good. He got his first real big time action last week. look pretty good. So naturally, boom, he gets COVID, and or or I should say he's on the COVID list. I don't know if that's 100% that he tested positive, but and of course, God, look what happened Sunday morning last week. Harrison Smith test positive. Who knows? We might not be out of this yet. We might still have something. Um, we might still have something before kickoff tomorrow. But it's of course this was going to happen. That there was going to be a COVID outbreak with this team. Um, so yeah, and there's a couple other players who are on the COVID list, but they're like backup players. And obviously Harrison Smith is going to be out again because of his stupidity. He'd be able to play this week, if not for that. So, and then injuries, as always, are a factor. This should be now the last week that Patrick Peterson is out, but what are the odds that he actually comes back right when he's supposed to? That never seems to happen. Pierce out again. I mean, they've really none of us know as fans what the deal is really with injuries, but they've really botched this Pierce situation because he could have easily been put on IR. They could have had an extra roster spot. Maybe he wouldn't have been playing either way, but they could have done something there with him because this every week where it's maybe this will be the week he plays. Oh no, he's out. He's declared out well before the game even is going to be kicking off. So luckily, Armon Watts has been in there in his place and has played pretty well, but this run defense still struggles. Defense has struggles overall. They need their guys out there, and they're not out there. And Pierce is his fault. Like last year is not his fault. But sucks. And Anthony Barr is out. He's back. He's hurt again. You got to worry at some point because what was it 90 some snaps on defense last week against Baltimore? That's going to take a toll. Hell, it took a toll on Baltimore. Baltimore looked terrible the other night. I don't know what that's about. Where every time we play a team, then they go and look like crap the next week. Because Baltimore looks like crap after playing us. We lose to Dallas, then they go and get killed by Denver. We sneak out an OT win in Carolina. Then Carolina went to play the Giants and got killed. And even the Lions, they played us tough in a game, and then I think they got blown out by the Bengals next week. So it's just, I don't know what that's about. We wear them out. It's like we soften up these teams so that the next team can have an easier game. I don't know how that works, but so yeah, Barr's out. Breland is questionable. He had that kind of nasty looking injury. He was bleeding last week. So I don't know if he'll play or not. Overall, I mean, they don't have that many guys out, but we're already shorthanded on defense, and obviously, Peterson wasn't on the injury report because he's on IR, and then Smith is a COVID idiot, so he's out. So we're going to be really shorthanded again, and facing another very good offense and good quarterback and good skill players, and it's shouldn't be as tricky as last week. Herbert's kind of your more normal quarterback, but I mean, we need our guys out there, and it's and it's not going to work as an excuse for Zimmer at all because they were losing some games even when they had everybody out there. But yeah, it's kind of snowballing again. If it's what it feels like, and it's tough. But luckily we have some more depth this year, and some of the guys who have stepped in, like Cam Bynum last week, played really well, and Watts has played really well, and we've had some other guys step in and kind of fill the void a little bit. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. So I think that's it for the for the. It's all bad, COVID and injuries and domestic abuse drama. It's just I know everyone is just fucking tuned out on Zimmer. Anyhow, even I've kind of just resigned to the reality that he's probably going to be gone after the season unless they really have an unbelievable turnaround. But I mean, you gotta fucking feel for the guy. From the start of his tenure here, it's just been one thing after another that's completely out of his control. And some things that are wrong that have been going wrong this season are within his control. But the injuries ain't, the COVID ain't, Dalvin situation ain't. I mean, I feel for the guy. It's really never stopped. And you know, so, but it's not going to work. It's not going to be like, people are like, oh, this is going to be the excuse that the owners give to keep Zimmer. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I don't. I just don't. I think that missing the playoffs again, which certainly has to be considered more likely than not at this point, would mean he's gone. I don't think there's going to be any other version of that. But they are still in it. It doesn't feel like it. I know it doesn't. And obviously, there's bad stuff going on beyond that. Like, blowing these last two games, they had a shot to kind of solidify their spot and getting that 7 seed. And I know no one cares about being a 7 seed, but it's better than being not a 7 seed. But now Russell Wilson comes back this week for Seattle, and for what it's worth, the Panthers brought back Cam Newton. So I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference for them, but these are two of the teams that you're going to be fighting with for those spots, and we did beat both those teams. So we've got, one of the positives is we haven't really lost a lot of games in conference so far. We lost 3 games to AFC teams, and those don't hurt you as much when it comes to like tiebreakers and shit. But tiebreakers don't mean shit if you don't win games. So we got to start winning these games. I mean, they absolutely, I thought they come out of the bye with these 4 games. I thought split them and you're good. Like you split them and you're still pretty good for making the playoffs. Obviously, they got to win the next 2 to split them. And I probably more than ever, this one is pointing. If you just look at it from the outside point of view, that everything's pointing towards this is not just the week that the Vikings lose, but this is maybe the week that they aren't even playing like a close game. You had an OT game with a ton of plays last week, and you lose, and then you travel from one coast back home and then back to the other coast. A lot of travel. Like I know it's all fucking chartered planes. It's kind of an overrated thing maybe, but it's like it does seem to affect teams sometimes. And then you're playing another good offense that can put up points on you, and you're shorthanded, and you've got off the field drama, and you're already the coaches maybe fighting for his job, and there's players maybe not like really overtly calling out the play calling in the offense. There was definitely some stuff this week from Jefferson and Thielen where they weren't like flat out calling out Kubiak or Zimmer or even Cousins, but they were like kind of like we know this isn't right. We know we should be doing better, and we're just kind of we don't know why we're not doing better. And so you have that. So you have that. Everything points to this could be the week that the Vikings get killed, which means this is probably the week the Vikings are going to play their best game of the year, because that's just how the NFL works. Like, look at all the just absolutely inexplicable results, especially the last few weeks. Like, nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense that Miami just handles Baltimore, or that Dallas gets killed at home by Denver, or that Buffalo loses to the Jaguars. None of this shit makes sense. And it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for the Vikings to go into LA and win, but I kind of think they will. like I didn't pick them to win last week. I kind of think they're going to win this week. Like I think they're, and I don't really have a reason for it. It's not me being a homer. I did pick them to lose last week. I have picked them to lose a few times this year, but like it just seems like okay, this is the one they'll win. Like could they go to 3-7, lose all these games out of the bye? Sure, but I just and it's not even like I think I'm done kind of holding out the hope that okay, this is the week that they're finally gonna click on offense the way they should. Like I kind of just given up on that, because I just don't. There's whether it's willful stupidity or just ignorance or incompetence or whatever it is, I just don't see that happening. It just doesn't seem like there's some sort of disconnect going at the top with this team in regards to how they run their offense. And of course, a lot of people then are blaming Cousins too for dump. It's like he ain't calling the fucking plays. He's not calling. He's not. Cousins ain't calling plays to put himself under heavy pressure like we're seeing. So, but and it pisses everybody off because when we lose these games to some of these teams, and then the next week, or we struggle against some of these teams, and the next week they go out and they get killed by teams that maybe are lesser than us. Like Miami is not as good as us, but they beat Baltimore and we didn't. Denver, I don't think Denver. I guess you could say is better than us because they I think have a better record. But like, should they have done what they did to Dallas and we couldn't beat them with a backup quarterback? No. Should we have needed overtime to beat Carolina when the Giants could blow out Carolina the next week? No. But it's just and this is I think what's gonna tank Zimmer after the season is I think we can all kind of see what's going on and what should be going on, and players are now kind of there's not gonna be like some sort of mutiny where like the team just turns on Zimmer. I mean, they're still playing hard for the guy. Even if they think that everything he's doing is wrong, they're still out there and they're playing hard. And it would be nice if they got rewarded with a win. And I kind of think they're going to win this week. 30. It's impossible to pick the Vikings to win if it's not going to be some sort of like nail biter, and it probably won't be a nail biter because this is the Vikings. So I'd say like something like 34, 31, 35, 34. It'll come down to the end because it's the Vikings and it always does. And there'll probably be a video of me reacting to it and going through all the stages of grief. But they win this one. Like, no one wants to hear this shit anymore because everyone's out on this whole version of the Vikings and team and everything. But like, you win this game, you're probably gonna you might even be back in a playoff spot by the end of the day because Seattle's got to play Green Bay and Carolina's playing Arizona, and there's teams that are going to lose now that are just ahead of you, and Atlanta's playing in Dallas, so that you would think is going to be a loss. Like, it's what we got. People want to tank. Tanking doesn't work. You're not going to tank. What are you going to get? You're going to tank. You're going to lose the Lions or something this year. Give me a fucking break. So I think they're going to win this week, and I have no logical basis really to even say it, other than just any given Sunday, and this team is too talented to just lose week in, week out. And Chargers are decent, but they're not a juggernaut, and everybody in the AFC seems to at least once in a while lose a game that you can't imagine why they lost it. And hopefully maybe some of the negative. Sometimes that we have all this outside stuff. Sometimes you kind of rally around, the coach or the team, and they go out and play well. And hopefully they do this week, and then we get to go into a Green Bay game that matters. And I hope that happens because it's right. It's still right there. If they just can get out of their own way, they can still, I think, very easily make the playoffs.